not only do I represent causes and organizations, but in our particular case, I really believe each of us has a very valuable contribution to the world. So please look to me, Andrew Williams Jr., for whatever I can do to assist you. In the chat, I'll just put down some links to the Africa Week, and I would invite all of you to participate in some way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Andrew. And Luna is on the line, but I'll go ahead and have Mateus maybe introduce himself and then have Luna introduce herself.
Hello guys, my name is Mateus. I'm from Brazil. I'm living in New York now. Just moved recently, like a couple of months ago.
Ooh.
Actually 3 months. And before I was living in Paris, I was working as a head chef in the American Embassy in Paris. And before that, I've been traveling the world like for the past 8 years, just like exploring the cuisines in Asia, Australia, New Zealand, in US, in Brazil, South America. And now I'm finishing my master in hospitality management. And I've always been working with like philanthropy, working as a volunteer, helping people with like the alimentation in different countries. My last project I was working was the project from Massimo Bottura, Food for Soul. We were feeding the homeless and the refugee people in Paris using like donations from supermarket or restaurants. And the idea of the project was like giving an experience of like a restaurant, like a 5-star Michelin, and for like the ones who don't have the opportunity to have these luxuries to go and enjoy a full service 3-course and like drinkings and stuff. So I recently just moved to New York, and like I'm happy to be like in this group because I can continue in a bigger cause to help the industry and help the people.
Thank you, Mateus. That was beautiful. I think that, you know, I love the fact that Mateus was brought to us by Luna, who's been with Food Tribe for about 2.5 years as our lead brand strategist. You know, Food Tribe has been a marketing and a content first business for a very long time. It was really important that we understood like who our values were, because then our values then dictate like our approach to attacking problems and solutions. So, you know, when I see the people that are on this line, we have people in South Los Angeles, we've got people in New York, we've got people in South Africa, we've got someone in Rio de Janeiro, right? Like, this is pretty incredible to me that, you know, content, right? Just the message, words, talking to people, then turned into, you know, us coming together and hopefully like some offline action that can happen. You know, that being said, I would, you know, this is some of your guys' first time meeting Luna, who has been, you know, so paramount to Food Tribe thus far. And she's probably the only other person that knows it better than me. So I would love maybe for Luna to just give a couple minutes to introduce herself to some of our newbies on the line.
Yes, hi. Nice meeting you, Emma and Jake. So
Nice
I'm
to meet you.
Luna. Nice meeting you. I'm Luna. I've been working with Terrence for almost 3 years now, and that just make me realize how fast life passed, you know, which is incredible in all different ways. I'm a social communicator, but a brand strategist. I call myself just a curious person. I am all about, I don't know, telling people that it's possible to do something good, you know, and be happy by doing that. So I believe that's what I do. Right now I am in Brazil after many years traveling, going back and forth from the US to Brazil and also Italy. I'm half Italian, half Brazilian. Besides Food Tribe, I work at this innovation lab from Australia called Echos. And I also have my personal artistic, I don't know exactly what it is, project called Bananas, where I take pictures of banana skins that I find thrown on the ground all over the world. And I just plug a little bit of poetry with a little bit of spirituality and tell people, hey, whatever you think is trash for me is art, and I'm just gonna give re-meaning. When you see the end, I see the beginning. So I believe I kind of do that in everything else I do in my life, you know, from my holistic therapy sessions to what I'm doing with Food Tribe, always trying to translate Terrence's mind in something more concrete and tangible. And I'm super excited to just be plugging people into this project because we truly believe in what we're doing and the vision we have. And I believe right now we are trying to translate this huge, so expensive vision of what the future should be looking like and trying to come up with one solution that can be done as soon as possible. So I'm here. If there's anything I can do related to art, branding, communication, curiosity, holistic healing, I'm here. You can just connect to me and I'll be happy to work together.
Awesome. All right, did everybody go? Everybody have an interest?
I'm still here.
Yeah. All right, rad. Yeah, I mean, you guys should all know why we're here, right? So today is the 6th version of our restaurant bailout committee. And, you know, again, I've talked to most of you on a one-on-one basis, but as a quick reminder, this COVID pandemic, right, has just exposed some underlying issues in our food infrastructure system. And that's global, right? Not just here in the US. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so, you know, just this, it really started out as a conversation that we were having with, you know, some mutual connections, like some other members within our network, just regarding, you know, some things that could be done. You know, a lot of what's been happening is something that Food Tribe has been talking about for quite some time, you know, so in some ways it's been redeeming, but in other ways it's been like, oh crap, there really is a problem. And so that means we have to have a solution right now. And so, again, like this conversation just then turned into a bunch of different groups of people, you know, some people with similar interests, some people with like auxiliary interests, but this, you know, concept of food and coming together, right, in order to create a new sort of future, right? And so, you know, Luna's exactly right. It's like been taking this huge concept of like, man, this world is super messed up right now, you know, and it's taken us a really long time to get, you know, messed up. Like, you know, some people would have you think that it took us about 2,000 years to get here, but in all actuality, it took, man, a really long time to get here and to make some of the mistakes that we're making, right? And so, you know, I think that, yeah, it's my opinion that if you're then looking to, you know,
we have to reconnect with Pastor.
Is that you, Andrew?
No, I don't know. I can put it. So I'm on a conference call. Hold on.
Gonna mute him for a second. All right, there you go. And so yeah, I mean, that really does take like really big thinking, but then to Luna's point, it's really consolidating, right, all that data, all like this whole like reference point into something tangible that then allows us to come forward with a solution, which is what we're looking to do here, right? So, you know, as a result of that, just hopping through, you know, what this process has been for us, we've been meeting once a week. As a result of that, that then turned into, you know, creating subcommittees, right, you know, regarding like specific initiatives. Those subcommittees then, you know, broke into, you know, individual working groups where, you know, we're figuring out different research tactics and, you know, understanding the, you know, some of the history, getting an understanding of the market, identifying like, you know, who our users are, the people that are really being affected, right, by this COVID pandemic, how food really kind of plays. And so every week we have, again, just been going through this exercise of like hopping on a call together and sharing our information, sharing our resources, and hopefully by our June 10th deadline of our restaurant bailout committee, not only will we have a point of view, right, which is a sort of tangible document that all of us can then go out and, you know, use on our resumes, or, you know, just something that we can, you know, put our name behind. But then ideally, 90 days after that, the goal is to have some sort of experience, some sort of product, some sort of solution, some sort of prototype, right? That really is in supporting that point of view and that pitch deck that we've been able to put together. So is that all making sense, guys?
A manifesto.
Manifesto. Oh, we got a food tribe manifesto, and then we've actually that's some of the work that we've been doing is working on like our mission statement and our values and our vision. Which I believe that I sent to you guys. But again, like as a marketing like first company, it's like we spend a lot of time on words, right? Like Luna and I think love words, and I think that a lot of us love words, and dissecting how words impact people in different ways, right? And so, I'll give you guys an example of how brilliant Luna and Marina, our other co-chair of our product committee, are. But, it's then being able to take a word and extrapolate themes, phrases, ideas, solutions, et cetera, right? It all just kind of ripples out. So this week, like I put together a couple links that I would love for you to check out. This first one, again, it's Africa Day. It's African Week to Andrew's point. I like working with music. So there's this great link playlist. Check that out. Listen to some tunes while you're, trying to catch a vibe and, really starting to understand, what it is that we're trying to do, right? I think that music is a good way to break down bridges. And then I've also got some really great links for you that I would love for you to check out. Ooh, whoops. The first of which is a deliverable, kind of like what we're looking to achieve. It's called Betrayed, how kickbacks in the cafeteria industry harm our communities and what to do about it. So I'll just click on this real quick, but I want you guys to download this and just get a little bit of an understanding of what we are looking to achieve by June 10th, right? So within the next two weeks or so, is to have, some sort of domain like this, right? With our logos on it, the people that contributed, the problem as we see it, the treatment, what we've been doing, some of the content that we put together, and then perhaps some sort of downloadable that, really paints the picture of the future or the solution that we believe in, that we're going to then be moving towards our September 10th deadline. Then I've got some other fun links for you guys. I caught a little bit of a design wave after chatting with Luna and Marina. Those two are so smart. So I found this, we've been talking about like intentional communities, and, we've been talking about like soil, which involves like Emma and Jake here in a bit. So I've got some other great links that I would just love for you guys to check out. Donut economics is something that Luna and Marina planted with me last week that I've just really been drinking in a lot of, right? When we're considering the economic models that have impacted our food infrastructure system, a lot of those are actually fairly recent if we're talking about, the history of man. So a couple phrases, I want you to check out Donut economics this week. I want you guys to understand, 21st century economics. Globalization is something else that we want to consider. And then what was that last piece? It was, the rational economic man is also another concept that I would love for you guys to research. The rational economic man, again, is really in line with the last like 50 or so years of our economic history, where the rationale for such a long time was that growth was rational, right? That was the only way to do things, right? And so a lot of wars, a lot of economic policies, a lot of our decision making was based off of this concept, which a lot of people equate to the next evolution of man, which was this, or that was the propaganda at least, was that the rational economic man was the next evolution of man, right? And so now we're starting to see something a little bit different, in that rationality is certainly a part of the equation, but there's, maybe an unwritten language, right, that rationality can't necessarily answer for, right? So when we look at concepts like pollution and finding balance with nature, et cetera, right? Rationality and economy, that's been like our religion for so long, but if we're looking towards the next 1,000 years, perhaps it's time for something different rather than this version of a rational economic man. And then the last link that I'd love for you guys to check. Does anybody have any questions, anything that you want to add to that?
No, but I love this next link.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Okay.
Do we have access to those links somewhere?
Yes.
Or
You guys have access to this. I have a shared version of this deck that you guys can check out whenever. Okay. And then this other one that was very powerful that I read, this great article in the New Yorker. Emma, do you want to talk about it?
Why don't you go? Because I need to get it back up because
Sure,
I did
sure,
everything through. But I think because we're seeing everything dying right now, as the only ones that are kind of surviving right now again are people who either quickly transition to delivery or people who are cloud-based kitchens to begin with.
Right.
And I guess this is this whole idea about the hospitality industry dying, but what part of it is really dying, and all of those other connections, and like the food system we were talking about earlier. And again, I feel like it's an argument about what are we actually wanting to like cut through. For me, this was about addressing the seasonality of the hospitality industry as we know it, because I'm all for as it is dying, because when you have your winter, what comes next?
Sure.
Spring.
Yeah, and I think Emma's exactly right. You know, this guy, he's weird. He's like, I think he's a former chef. You know, he was also, or worked in the restaurant industry for sure. But, you know, highly educated, and he puts on these experiences, which are like kind of like dinners. And then he also does like packaged consumer goods. And like, he doesn't, like, if you read the article, he doesn't really have a job title. He just kind of, you know, floats as he goes, which is really in line with what we're talking about in some ways in terms of like economic models, right? Because money is not really this thing that, you know, motivates him. You know, that being said, you know, I think that he talks about how the poison then of money, you know, has really pervaded and then corrupted the restaurant industry in a lot of ways, right? And, you know, some of the ways that he talks about are just, you know, when I mean, like, you know, again, like, you know, how much people make, like how much you actually make when, you know, you work in the restaurant industry, and some of the racism that exists, you know, within the restaurant industry, right? And also he talks about how, you know, I think what we're seeing with a lot of these ghost kitchens, right? And I'm getting ready to write a blog post about this, is that who here is familiar with the term of sharecropping?
I am.
Okay, does somebody want to?
It's fun. Jake, take it away.
Jake, take it away, buddy.
So like sharecropping is basically where, you know, people sort of share a space like a farmland, and then they, you know, they'll basically farm a little bit, like a section for themselves, and then someone else farms a little section for themselves, and then they make their own money off their little piece of land, but they all share the land together. Sort of like it's more of a social farming system. It's quite like popular here in South Africa and, you know, across Africa really, because, you know, a lot more people benefit from it, and a lot more people can sustain themselves using that system.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like very common over here that people share the land and actually work together on smaller pieces of land, with no like overall owner, but like a whole bunch of little people owning that property.
See, and I think I like that definition a little bit more. I would say here in the U.S., sharecropping has a little bit more of a negative connotation, right? And, you know, what I mean by that is, you know, immediately after the Civil War, when slaves were, you know, immediately freed. Well, number one, right, like slavery was this process that took a very long time to die. And, you know, if we're talking like the next like year to, you know, 10 years immediately after, right, it was basically business as normal for a lot of rural areas and a lot of areas, you know, in general, right? But sharecropping, you know, in that immediate example, was an opportunity for the former plantation owners to then continue to exploit former slaves based off of this old economic model, right? Where if they didn't hit certain benchmarks, they were penalized, or, you know, they oftentimes they were jailed, and they quite literally were treated like the same way as slaves. And so, you know, one thing I would say that this article argues that a lot of the restaurant industry that we are seeing today is a version, and also our global economy is based off of at least the American version, right? This scarcity mindset, right, has created new plantation owners in the form of corporations, right? And then the creators, the farmers themselves, are then, you know, indebted to these corporations forever and ever, right? And then, you know, aren't able to seek the abundance. And so when we look at, you know, some of the themes that we've been talking about, right? you know, like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos wanting to go to space so that they can start colonizing space and start doing some of the same things that we've been seeing, you know, in terms of exploiting natural resources. And then like this next iteration, right, the next like 1 to 10 years or 1 to 5 years, we're starting to see that, you know, the former CEO of Uber, for example, Travis, I can't remember what his last name is. When he was fired from Uber, he took $1 billion of his own dollars cash, immediately went to Saudi Arabia, raised an additional $8 billion in capital, and then he began the process of buying international property, right? Property in communities that were ravaged or deserted, right? Poor areas, so that he could start the process all over again, right? Take advantage of the land equity there, start these ghost kitchens where a new generation of creators would then, in a lot of ways, be enslaved, quote unquote, to these corporations. Like you look at your immediate example, Jake, I believe it was Jake, or it might have been Emma, excuse me if I'm misspeaking, but was, hey, if you're a restaurant, get on Grubhub, get on Uber Eats, get on Postmates, get on a delivery platform, do pickup. Well, it turns out if you haven't properly baked that model into your business, like number one, if you're doing marketing really well, it typically takes about 90 days to see any sort of return back, right? But if you haven't properly baked that, if you don't have the education to understand how this platform is going to affect your business, you're going to be that slave again. You are going to be sharecropping. You are going to be enslaved, quite literally. Your business is going to be owned, right, by this corporation. And so when we look at like these concepts of like intellectual property and owning resources, we're lucky today because we can develop online real estate, right? And then if we start collecting our resources together, there then is the opportunity to start owning offline real estate, excuse me, right? And matching those two together and then using those two assets, right, to create this new economic model. Is this all making sense?
I mean,
Yep.
yeah, it makes sense. And I mean, there's also a lot of restaurants that, you know, are just not able to list on things like Grubhub. If you take the fine dining industry, you know, that's not something you can put on Grubhub really, because if you're going to a fine dining restaurant, that's an experience that you're going there for. You're not going to order fine dining to come and get delivered at your home. It's just not going to be the same kind of experience. So
some fine dining restaurants, they create a new menu for like delivery to survive in this like coronavirus like time right now, and they just pretty much using the name of the star restaurant and say like receive like a burger of a Michelin star. But like the idea of a fine dining, the experience they're selling, you cannot apply on the new economic model right now.
No. No way. And that's again, like you start seeing like there like some immediate unintended consequences of getting on these platforms are like the first thing I think about is, have you guys ever ordered from Postmates? Or like, number one, when you get the food, how much plastic and like what's that material made of? Right?
Yeah.
Like that's number one. That's the number one thing I think about.
If it's a color other than white or clear, it's not going to actually get recycled. Even if you clean it out, put it in there, because it's all about value if you can resell it.
Right.
So you don't clean it, and if it's the wrong color, it's fucked. But they're coming in saying, oh yeah, we care about restaurants. We love our community. Well, then why are you giving us another form of debt, right, that then we're going to be responsible for the next few years, right? Have you actually thought about this, right? Have you thought this through, you know? Because then on top of that, you know, again, like you look at the margins, well, what are they doing? They're basically creating a website and giving them the infrastructure and then charging them 30%, right, of the revenue, basically as long as they're on that platform. 30% is a lot of money. That is a lot of money to have to pay every month.
So
it's the same thing packaged differently, you know.
I did some research about like all the cloud kitchen stuff, and the company from the Uber owner is the cloud kitchens, and I got in contact with them and stuff. Besides of the app percentage that takes between 21 and 30%, depends of the volume of sales that you have. He is charging in LA, it is like $7,000 for rent of like a small kitchen. I don't remember how many like square feet, but like something super small. It's a kitchen for 2 persons, plus 2% of your whole sales. And
Wow. They're
yeah,
getting on wholesale. So on your consumer
wholesale.
package goods, if you want to do that.
Yeah, so they offer just the space and integrate system that put in a funnel all the platforms of delivery. So they offer like this sort of technology plus the like cleaning and stuff, like general service in a restaurant. And but still like the $7,000 for a restaurant of 2 people,
Oof.
plus 2% of your whole sales. It is just pretty much everything you say, Terrence. Now, like they're like farm cropping and everything, you know.
Yeah.
Chow now is another. I don't know if you guys have had any experience with Chow, right? They're doing something a little bit different. They're just building the platform, no commission,
Yeah.
and just like giving it to them. So I'm keeping my eye on them.
Yeah.
They even hired at one point because they were.
What's the name again?
Chow now.
Chow now. I'll type it in. Don't worry.
Emma, if you, my buddy Nick I think he was like a 10th hire. So if you ever want to chat with him, he works for another company now. I don't mind connecting you.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. I want to know what was going on. What is going on?
Yeah, for sure. Just let me know and I'll plug you, okay? Or send me a blank email to remind me.
Okay.
But you know, I think that, you know, she's exactly right though, in that all they're doing is like really creating the infrastructure, and then they're saying, okay, well, if you want to do it yourself, you know, go ahead and do it, and we'll give you a website, we'll give you a link, we'll connect you to our technology. It's a low rate, you know, maybe like, I don't know how much it is, but maybe $25, $100 a month, whatever. Right. And like, we'll handle some of your delivery. Now, if you just want to focus on the food, right, and you want us to do hand holding, okay, well, we'll give you something, you know, like we'll do something more. I want us to go a little bit different, right? You know, the South LA that I see is, you know, in the world that I see really is we're only going to go as far as the people that are last, right? And you look at what our economy is, it's like there are a segment of our people that we have just said, hey, you don't have any value, and we're just going to put you over here, right? And we're going to figure you out later, you know? But the problem is that nobody ever figures it out, right? And so it's just more and more of the same, right? And I want you guys, please, check out the donut economy. Because one of the things that she talked about is the difference between thriving and unlimited growth, right? Unlimited growth, she mentioned, is closer to like a tumor, right? Like if something grows exponentially without stopping, that's like a tumor, right? Tumors can turn cancerous, right? And then what happens? Well, the body has ways of trying to attack that, right? Nature, on the other hand, seeks to thrive. It seeks balance by thriving in its environment, right? Taking the data and the information about its environment and then seeking ways to become more abundant and to thrive, right? And so that's really what I want us to consider is when we're looking at our different customer groups, right? There's for sure like the obvious people like the farmers and, you know, the restaurant owners and the waiters and, you know, the people that work in the kitchens, right? But really who we're trying to uplift through this consumer-focused campaign are the least of us, right? Saying, hey, you have a stake in the new economy that we see. We are investing in you, like based off of your social currency. And one example I love is if you guys ever get a chance, go check out how creative prison chefs are. Like seriously, if you ever get a chance, research what it's like for someone who works, who's in prison for a very long time, but their passion, the thing that they're good at is cooking. And the things that they are able to make with the resources and the limitations that they have in that environment are amazing to me, right? So if they have that sort of capability within those constraints, imagine what we can do with the resources that we have, with the network that we have, with the constraints that we have, right? We can do some pretty amazing shit, in my opinion. So that's the interesting links. And I want to get us, I know we all got shit to do. So getting us back. Does anybody have anything they want to add before we keep it pushing? Keep it going? No?
Let's move.
All right, dudes. So today's meeting, we're about halfway through. We're going to hop into, you know, what we worked on. I definitely want to, you know, take a minute to, again, acknowledge both Emma and Jake. This all just kind of came together organically, believe it or not, just again, through content. Emma found Food Tribe, I don't know how, but has been a member of our community, has been participating and engaging. So the conversation was very easy, right? We was just, what are you doing? Okay, boom, 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 boom. She's hanging out, working with us a bit, at least for the time being. And the conversation with Jake, again, was, very smooth. I was able to discover Jake as a result of my connection to Emma. So one of the things that we talked about, and I'm going to pass the mic off to them here in a bit, but one of the things that we talked about is that there seems to be, I love theme words, we love theme words, but there seems to be this going back to soil, right? So we've considered including a soil or an agriculture subcommittee through the life of the overall restaurant subcommittee or restaurant committee. So, having these two just get us started on like the agriculture side, getting an understanding of like urban ag, their specialties, what they offer, to then include that into, our perspective. So on that note, Luna, I see you taking notes, and I did that for you. But I'm going to pass it off to, maybe Emma, because we got started first. She talked a little bit about urban ag, and we just had a great talk, and I'd love maybe for you just to give us a little bit more detail on your passions and how we can help you.
Okay, so I have a very diverse background. I was in arts, psychology, graphic design, sciences, somehow landed in sustainability, which kind of put everything together. I worked at the Huntington Library and Gardens for about 4 years, and then before that I was a volunteer since I was 15, and I'm 29 now. And when I was at the Huntington Gardens, I was first gardening in the herb garden, and then after that I was given my own kind of little plot in the sustainable ranch, and I was kind of experimenting, growing vegetables and fruits, specifically stuff that chefs were really into at the moment. I was really into Row 7 Seeds, which is Dan Barber's, it's backwards, but third plate. I love this book, but Dan Barber's, one of Dan Barber's babies. So in terms of my restaurant experience, I kind of did a trial by fire. I jumped into a restaurant in Copenhagen called Amas. Matthias might know about it. Amas with Matt Orlando, and I did a half garden, because they have a kitchen garden there, at a half garden, half kitchen stage for about a month. And that was terrifying, but a very big learning experience. And that's kind of where I was realizing, a lot of this zero waste concept is very, it all really depends on the menu, as opposed to figuring out what you do after. So in terms of urban agriculture, I like to focus a lot on kitchen gardens. And then as well as community spaces. Before we ended our conversation, Terrence, I was kind of touching on this idea of as cloud kitchens are kind of growing, we're losing that experience space. And I was considering like a beautifully like landscaped, kind of like a botanical garden where there's little spaces where people can eat and take their food that's from a nearby cloud kitchen that's delivered at a little spot, and they can take it and have kind of this experience in nature that's beautifully designed, lots of biophilic design. I like putting everything together between the agriculture and the kitchen. That's kind of where my jam is.
Beautiful.
Very beautiful. Thank you. Yes, she's been, and I think that's where, not just us, I think there are a lot of other communities that are trying to figure out what their kitchen is or what that's going to look like. But that definitely is a theme word that has popped up. Luna has done a ton of research, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But super excited to have Emma, just, if it's just this call, or if she continues to hang out with us, I love it. I think a lot of us have begun to understand that the fact that we are so disconnected from the process of like our food going into the ground to then ending up on our plates, that we're starting to realize that we have to be a little bit more informed, right, about everything that it takes and how it happens. So being able to kind of connect that dot or connect those dots using soil, I think is going to be awesome. Which Sir Bailey is on the line. Sir, he's running a very, very awesome project that I think is really in line with what we're talking about. He's looking to develop these educational pods, right, that, you know, have semblances of agriculture in there. So thank you for being here, sir. I know you said you're in a dark or you're in a loud place, but can you say hello?
Yeah, man. I'm able to, the party actually moved from the balcony to the inside, so I can step outside. I'm in Los Angeles. As you might be able to see over my shoulder, garden that we just started. But the project that Terrence talks about, we call the Living Labs, blue and green agriculture, run by a company called Solar Roof and Podnet. Yeah, Podnet. So yeah, happy Memorial Day and happy African Liberation Day.
Hey, that part.
African Liberation Day, Africa Week 2020. Is doing a 24-hour, actually, I think it's like 5-day Zoom. So I was just playing some guitar and getting ready to perform on that thing there. But man, thank you.
My guy, appreciate you, dude. Now, Jake. So Jake is the he's going to be the second member of our agriculture subcommittee. Jake, you talked. You know, we had a great conversation today. You introduced yourself a bit, but I would love maybe for you to offer some of the conversation that we had in terms of the nutrition of soil. Can you maybe talk to us about, you know, how maybe that's impacting our overall health, and, you know, the way that we maybe need to start framing our food infrastructure system?
Okay, sure. So I'm just going to give a brief background about myself. So I studied genetics and biochemistry, and I got involved in all sorts of sectors. I worked in the financial sector, and then I got involved with running startups in Pakistan. And then for a year, I was teaching in Thailand. But in between all of that, I've been working on my own little side projects, inventing things, and, you know, doing a lot of research in between. And one of the biggest things I've been looking into is soil nutrition and plant nutrition. And what I've been looking at is that a lot of commercial fertilizers, you know, they'll replace nutrients that are, you know, macronutrients, things like nitrates, phosphates, sulfates. But they don't focus on the micronutrients. And we're actually losing a lot of the micronutrients in terms of content inside our foods. So things like zinc, molybdenum, selenium, these micronutrients that are needed to, you know, make a plant perform better, but also eventually get transferred into our system through consumption, are not really taking their place there as much as they used to anymore. And that's mainly because we've farmed the same soil for, you know, 50 to 100 years. You know, those same crops, those wheat crops, those corn crops, you know, have been growing there for a long time. And we haven't been replacing all the nutrients, only the ones we've deemed important to make sure they grow right now. And, you know, we're starting to see that the actual quality of food is declining in terms of nutritive capacity. And those micronutrients have effects on not only just on themselves, but on biological processes that create other chemicals. Let's take tomatoes, for instance, require, you know, additional micronutrients to form lycopene. So you get something called a coenzyme, which is a micronutrient, which attaches to those enzymes, which form the other compounds that are necessary or that, you know, are beneficial to us. And through lack of that, it's actually affecting the quality of our food quite badly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go ahead and shout out Jake for being able to spit that off at 3:43 a.m. Okay. that was wow.
Thank you for going into the soil science, because that's where I stopped in like hardcore my agricultural studies. Once I got into soil science, my brain exploded. I was like,
my brain was exploding yesterday, Emma. I was watching this movie, and I shared with you, Terrence and Mateus, called The Need to Grow. Oh my goodness, you guys, you need to watch this movie. It's amazing. This guy in Montana, he's creating this insane I don't know exactly what it is, like a greenhouse or something. I don't know how you guys call it in English. It's just amazing. It's unbelievable.
Biome.
Yeah,
Yeah, biome. Yeah.
it's amazing, and it's all about replicating nature in a very fast pace. So he generates electricity, and he consumes carbon from algae. I don't know. It's just amazing.
He has like different ecosystems, right? He's like got a desert, and then he's got like a tropical. Like he creates the entire like system in there, right?
I believe he only has tropical.
Just a tropical.
Only, but check it out. It's called the Need to Grow. And it talks a little bit, Jake, about what you were just introducing right now. And my mind was already exploding. It's amazing.
I want, Matthias, I'm going to get you here in a bit. I just want to say that I want Luna and Jake to maybe set up some time. You guys both we talked about bananas. So let's talk about bananas and why we only have a couple bananas in the market. I think that's a shared passion of your guys', okay? So I'm going to intro you via email. And I'd love for you to just take it sometime. Matthias, sorry, buddy. What were you going to say?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
You sure?
Sure.
Okay. On that note, just if we're talking about the way that Luna works, Luna, can you maybe talk to us about the product subcommittee and some of the work that we've been doing, looking at You're Crazy?
Oh my goodness. So Marina and I, we were planning the next coming week, so we know that we can come from the research phase, like trying to understand where we're at, all the way to June 10th, when we need to have something concrete. And we were structuring this upcoming Wednesday product meeting. So we were creating templates for us to plug everybody in and kind of pick on their brains. And as we were creating the templates, she and I, we were sharing our ways of working. And I was like, are you interested in doing a mind map? She was like, okay, yeah, let me just see how you do a mind map. So that kind of a spider, that thing that you see on the top, that
Beautiful.
there, it's something I created in maybe 20 minutes.
Wow.
Just by having so much fun. And I can definitely introduce that mind map to anyone who's interested. And then from that, which was pretty much, we just put projects in the center, knowing kind of where we wanted to go. And then we started creating this idea of what this project is. And then from my interaction with her, I spent the weekend creating the other slide. Terrence, do you want to go down?
Oh, yep.
So what I do after I have all those words, I bring each of those words that you see that there is one of the words from the mind map. And then I created clusters with all the words that in my mind make sense together. And after I put all the words together, I go through them and I'm like, oh, this means that. So then the one in bold on the top is like a title for that cluster after I go through every word. But that's my way of clusterizing it. And I also invited Terrence and Marina to go through all the words and created their own clusters and see how what the outcome will probably be. And I believe it could be a completely different outcome. But after structuring all those words, I kind of saw a business model. And I was like, oh my goodness, my mind is a little bit too crazy, but that was it. That was me having fun this weekend.
Awesome. So that is, so again, like, this is just fun, right? Like, we're having a ton of fun trying to solve this like complex problem, right? And being inspired by each other. And, we're basically open sourcing in some ways a potential business, right? At least a product, right, that we can, go to the market with, which, I love doing that. Luna and I have had an opportunity to collaborate a ton, and we've been able to develop products, right, just from like our experience of like doing stuff like this. So I'd encourage you guys, like, if this, if you like design thinking, join us on, our product meeting, and I can send you a link. Just let me know. And we're just, again, like, we're talking about the things that we care about, and then coming together and seeing how everything fits in, and then, seeing where we want to go from there. It's been nothing but fun. But, Luna and Marina are probably two of the smartest people I've ever met, right? So design thinking is just a great way of developing empathy with the people that we're looking to serve, again, you know, understanding like the limited constraints that we have, right? And trying to come up with creative solutions to that. So thank you for that, Luna. That being said, guys, please download your restaurant bailout committee packet. This is, you know, this is how we just got started, right? Just tells our story, you know, why we're doing what we're doing. It's the beginning of, you know, the question that we were looking to answer, right? So this is probably the beginning of the deliverable. And once we have our actual report on June 10th, we'll most likely attach it to this and, you know, hopefully get some distribution and let people know, you know, about what we did and the work that we're going to continue to do, right? So please, you know, get familiar with this. There's a link here, you know, for you to, you know, download and check it out on your own terms, on your own time, excuse me. Do me a favor and register for the Restaurant Bailout Committee. So we have an understanding. We just want to start consolidating all this information, what everyone's doing, what their interests are, you know, what their tools are, and then, you know, hopefully we can then use that to begin our own database and hopefully figure out some other ways to leverage that, right? But, you know, more so than anything, I want to know where you guys fit in and how you see yourself supporting, you know, this project and, you know, how we can kind of rely on you. You know, right now, committee, so if you're on a subcommittee, the commitment is an hour and a half through June 10th per week. So that's, you know, our 1 hour, you know, standing meeting on Monday, and then a 30-minute subcommittee meeting during the week. And then if you want to add more time or whatever, you know, obviously you're more than welcome to do that. But that's what we've all committed to doing, you know, at least for a minimum. So please register for that if you're interested in hanging out with us again. Obviously, feel free to invite friends to come hang out with us. You know, we always want to learn from other people that are, you know, doing exciting things, and, you know, we want to get them and their perspective into this conversation, so that, again, we're moving towards a new economic model, right? Like, you know, competition is good to keep us going, but the idea is that we are cooperating, right? And driving each other forward so that we can all thrive. And so the idea is that, you know, if there's potentially opportunities to make money, right? Like, you know, if you want to create a product, you know, does that mean like, hey, maybe it makes sense to find an investor and somebody, you know, decides that they want to buy somebody else's organization, or somebody wants to join someone else's organization, or, you know, it's going to go so many different ways, right? So just, I think the very fact that you guys are here is, you know, first step, and let's just develop some consistency into this process so we can see, you know, where it could go. Because I think it can go. My goal, my 30-year vision, I literally want to go to outer space. You guys think I'm playing? I want to grow vegetables, start a farm, whatever. I want to go to outer space.
What?
Okay? So if Elon Musk is going to outer space, I'm going to beat his ass there. I'm going to tell you that much. So
leave the moon alone.
Well, we got to talk about it. Because again, like, it's, what are we doing? And so it's we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it, because I don't want to, you know, I don't want to colonize, right? But I also don't want to.
You don't want to be on the first ship.
But I don't. I also don't want to be left on an oil tanker, right? And that's where
tourism to the moon.
No, to see that, but all right. See, this is what we talked about. They have these things called O'Neill colonies. Have you ever heard of these things? So like they're like these. Man, they're trying to do some weird stuff and freeze people out. I'm telling you guys, like, these billionaires, they're trying to freeze poor people out, you know, from like whatever this new economic future is. Jeff Bezos is going to the moon in order to extrapolate water. That's what all he wants to do is take out water, right? So that shows you how valuable that resource is, right? So if that's where they're looking to go, right, like, what do we need to do then to have a voice, to be equitable, right, and like whatever this new future is. So that's just, you know, what I want us to consider. But I just want to
get there first, Terrence.
The meek shall inherit the earth.
What'd you say, Jake?
I said we need to get there first.
Right? And you're damn right, Emma, we're inheriting this damn earth. We're going to clean it up, and then we're going to go somewhere else. In terms of our activity this week, guys, please take a look at this. We had some great meetings with some of our mentors. Your guys' names are on here. You know, again, like, we're using this as an opportunity to get our business really good and up to date. So Food Tribe is, been focused on our taxes and We're looking to reincorporate as an S Corp to then move towards, B Corporation, again, within this 30-year vision of ours. The idea is that, again, we are looking at this concept of ghost kitchens, but, we want to kind of do it with our own special sauce. And so that's, why we are taking a lot of time to lay some groundwork to understand what the market is and, to be collaborative. So that's what a lot of our activities were last week. We had some great meetings with some new partners. There's going to be some new faces that pop up on some of our subcommittee meetings. And then we had some deliverables, right? Again, we had our new member package with our registration form. And then our product team created some fantastic deliverables for us that you guys will have access to. In terms of what we're working on this week, it's continuing our research, but on a subcommittee level, right? So, now that we've got this agriculture subcommittee going, it's figuring out a date to meet there, and then, figuring out how we want to start compiling research and understanding what the problem is. We've got our product meeting on Wednesday, funding subcommittees meeting tomorrow, marketing subcommittees meeting on Friday. I've got one-on-one scheduled with some of you guys already. Luna and I are chatting tomorrow. Cipriano, who is the Los Angeles chair of the Restaurant Opportunities Council. He and I are meeting on Wednesday. But if you'd like a one-on-one with me or anyone else, let me know or get that scheduled. Because we do have some tangible things that we would like to see as a result of our activities this week. This page right here where we're blocked or stuck, these are opportunities for you to continue the collaboration, some ways that we could use some help. Most obvious thing, pick a subcommittee, register, support some of our partners, support restaurants, right? Like really easy things that you guys can do. But then there's also, deeper things that we're looking to do, right? We want to get Luna out to LA, potentially get Mateus out to LA. We're looking at buying land, right? So it's, there's a whole wide ways to get involved, to continue the conversation. And on that note, unless anybody has any questions, I'm going to leave you with our parting notes. And it's possible to monetize your art without compromising it for the integrity of commerce. I want you to remember that, right? Get out your art, get out what you're good at, live a good life, but don't corrupt yourself. The goal is not to morally bankrupt yourself. The goal is to thrive, right? We've got some ways to do that. Please join me on Facebook. Food Tribe has a Facebook community that, is growing and growing and growing. I would love for you to be a part of that. And then I have a community of entrepreneurs that, I manage on Facebook, and I'd love to, engage with you there. If you want to hang out with me more. That's all that I got, guys.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, but just on the topic of soil, I misspelled something in there. Made popular. Okay, if you look at the chat box in terms of building soil and connecting it to kitchen, Mateus probably knows about Silo 2 in England, McMaster. I'm fascinated with the idea of these like commercial grade composters for restaurants, where it's just everything in it. In 24 hours, you have compost, and that's building soil. So if we're thinking about land that people have equity and access to have the experience of eating with cloud kitchens, where does all that food waste go? Pop it in an electric composter and get that compost going.
I would love for that to maybe be the jump off point for our ag subcommittee. There's some dope ones in LA. What's the name of that community kitchen? They've got like this, you know what I'm talking about? You can like go in and shop with the grocery cart, and like it's like all about like empowering you and like helping you to feel, just like a normal part of society. But then they also have like this huge commercial grade composter on site. Do you know what I'm talking about, Emma?
I think that's literally the name, isn't it? Or is it community?
It's like, I don't know what the name of it is, but I think composting is something interesting. Like in my head, if we're talking about like whatever this land is, it's a mixed use facility, right? I see it certainly like there being like if we're talking about just the land, we have to talk about the quality of the soil, right? And then we have to also talk about another very important resource, water. We just got done talking about like them going to space to take water out, right? So we have to consider water and like, being able to reliably like count water, within our space. But then from there, if we're like working our way outwards, right? Well, we're talking about like co-living communities. We're talking about co-creating. We're talking about commercial kitchen space. We're talking about, you know, places for people to come and eat, right? And like, you know, do workshops and, you know, places where people are quite literally able to invest their social currency, right, into this new economy to then, you know, allow this whole business, this new economic model to move forward, right? So if we're looking at like trying to get some land, it's like being really intentional and smart about how we plan it and how we use it to then develop this model that we can replicate in Rio, in South Africa, in Copenhagen, in Paris. You know what I mean? It's being really intentional that way, and developing these nodes. Now, the conversation that Jake and I had this morning was, you know, really, you know, based off of this hypothesis that I think some of us are seeing within the next like 1 to 5 years, right? I truly believe that we're going to see more, there's going to see a great migration of millennials, right? Where I think a lot of us are going to be moving from major metropolitan areas to rural areas, right? And I think our rural communities, like we're starting to see populism rise up in these areas. Donald Trump was elected in rural areas. That's what, you know, supported the French far right candidate. And then even in Brazil, right? Like some of the people, the electorate that were able to get the Brazilian president elected, right? We have this whole community of people that feel like they have been left behind based off of this old economic model of the past 50 years. But we know that things happen in waves, right? So part of my hypothesis, I believe that we're going to start seeing these rural areas. They're going to start developing the infrastructure there through technology, through, you know, economic development. And then our major metropolitan areas are going to have to go through a period of healing, right? A city like Los Angeles, which is like so heavily polluted, well, it needed this COVID time to quite literally heal itself, right? And so the idea then is to capture some of that momentum to then allow for the next, you know, 1 to however long these major metropolitan areas need to actually heal, right? So that then we can come back and then start developing them again, you know, for whatever this next iteration of man is, right? So something to consider, but land use and our soil is going to be very important to all of that, right? It's like, what land are we inheriting? And then what do we have to do in order to make that land viable for this future, right? So then we're looking at terms like, you know, or terraforming, right? And then like hydroponics and like all sorts of stuff. Like this is, right, there's all sorts of ways that we can take this. Like Jake was talking about, you know, potential like hanging gardens, and there's a lot of different things that we can do, right? Babylon, yeah. Hell yeah, right? I would love that. So it's, guys, we have a hell of an opportunity. And, you know, however we take this is for sure just an opportunity for us to grow. You know, what I would love for us is to capitalize. You know, I want Food Tribe to be the foundation, really. That's my dream. You know, we've done a lot of, we've been doing this work for a very long time, you know, and this has been a deeply personal project for me, and I'm assuming Luna as well. And I'm assuming this has been deeply personal for a lot of you guys, but I'm hoping that we can, because I believe that this has to be a consumer-driven campaign, right? We have to quite literally vote with our consumer dollars, our attention, with our consumer spending dollars to then motivate the businesses that we want to support, to motivate the NGOs that we want to support, to then motivate the government that we want to support, right? You know, and I think that if we're just monitoring trends, we're doing things the right way. Universal basic income is a thing that's going to happen pretty soon, right? Globalization is something that's going to happen pretty soon, right? Unless there's a war, right? Which I think that, thank God, knock on wood, COVID actually might have been a little bit of relief from a potential war. I mean, it remains to be seen, but, you know, the way that things were going, like, you know, some people might have thought that, you know, we were starting to see a rise of populism again, of fascism again, right? Which would then have said, okay, well, are we going to go to war? Is it going to be a technological war? Is it going to be we have no idea, but we want to stay away from violence, right? So if we then take our model and say, we're going to invest in the people that you chose to leave behind, and we're going to show you that they're valuable, right? And we're going to give them the resources, the infrastructure, the soil, quite literally, right? To then allow the rest of us the environment to nurture and to grow and to thrive, right? So, yeah, and yeah, you're exactly. Food scarcity is like shit. There's a lot of ways that we can go.
Yeah.
A lot of ways, and I want to respect all you guys' time. Jake, you're a shark, dude. Man,
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you. But hopefully this is informative. I really do appreciate you guys. I want you guys along for the ride. But it's my hope that we get this done regardless. So, on that note, I'm gonna leave you guys and I'll follow up with an email and make sure you guys all have a recording of this, okay?
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Peace and love. Talk to you guys soon.
Cheers.
Talk to you. Bye, guys.
Bye.